Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa LaRue, and this is our second SVRI Faith and GBV COP networking event. I know a lot of people will only be watching this later as a recording, but we're glad that you can join after the fact as well. Before we go any further, please remember, everyone in the room today, we are recording this. We're doing that intentionally so that everyone who can't be here does have the chance to watch the videos about the different organizations and what they're doing, and so that they can also explore further possible collaboration opportunities. So we have, I'm just going to be checking the waiting room all the time. We have 5 speakers today. They will be introducing themselves in more detail when they speak. I don't want to take too much time here at the start. So how it's going to work is every speaker has 8 minutes where they're sharing about their organization, what they're doing, and lessons, the key lessons they've learned, challenges they've had, but also what collaboration opportunities they're open to. This is kind of like speed dating. I've never done speed dating in real life, but I've seen movies where they do speed dating and you just move from the one person to the next on a clock. And we're going to do that today. So Laurel is going to be speaking first. She has 8 minutes. When it gets to 7 minutes, I'm going to unmute myself and tell Laurel, you have 1 minute left. And then if it gets to 8 minutes and she's not done, I'm going to interrupt her really rudely and just say, Laurel, your time is up. And it stops there, and I'm handing over to the next person. Now, everyone in the room, you can use the chat box to post any comments you have, any questions. Remember, it's about making connections. But we're planning time at the end. The whole plan is around that we have time to chat at the end. So yes, to ask questions to the presenters, but maybe also to share your own experiences, kind of explore whatever turns up there. The floor is going to be totally open to anyone to add whatever they want to. Let me see if I've covered everything. Depending on your internet, it would be great if you can keep your video on, just so that our speakers don't feel that they're just speaking into the void. But I totally understand if your internet's not good enough. I want to ask everyone to keep yourselves muted just for the quality of the conversation. But then when we get to the discussion point at the end, we're going to change that up a bit. So today we have Laurel from Trocare, who will, and she's working in multiple countries. I'm just keep on hearing that that sound from Zoom about people joining. We have Elvis from Kenya, from an organization called Impact for Youth Kenya. We have Modupe from Nigeria, from Shield Them Support Organization, and we have Romina from Ethiopia and the UK, from the Institute of Domestic Violence, Religion and Migration. So I must say, I am super interested in seeing and listening today. Thank you so much to all of our speakers. Laurel, I'm going to hand over to you now, and I shall start sharing your slides right now. Just be patient with, a little bit patient with me, please. But you can start talking.
Thank you very much, Lisa. And good afternoon to everybody. My name is Laurel. I'm from Trocare. And I'm going to share a bit about what we do around faith and gender. Trocare works in over 16 countries in Africa, Latin America, and Asia. And we work on the development and humanitarian side. You can move to the next slide, Lisa. So we focus on women and girls protection, voice and leadership. We respond to humanitarian crisis. We work on human rights, as well as climate and environmental justice. But for this meeting, I'm going to focus on around women and girls protection, voice and leadership, where we have the GBV prevention element. You can move to the next slide. So in terms of GBV prevention, we are using a methodology called SASA Faith. This is a social norms transformation methodology that brings together the leaders and the members of a faith community to prevent violence against women, living the faith values of justice, peace, and dignity. We co-created this methodology with Raising Voices in 2016, and SASA Faith has been implemented in over 6 countries since it was first launched. It's been implemented in Muslim and Christian communities, and it basically offers a structural process where faith communities are taken through several sessions to change the knowledge, attitude, skills, and behaviors in order to ultimately change the social norms of that community. You can move to the next slide. So in our work in SASA Faith, we've learned quite a number of things, but I think the major things that we have learned around the power and effectiveness of religion in preventing and responding to gender-based violence. We do know that faith communities, faith leaders are the first line responders when violence happens. And we do know that over 80% of the African population belongs to a certain faith community or a certain religion. So we understand and we have the evidence that religion is powerful to prevent and respond to gender-based violence. And then we also know that from our work, people have so much relief in having to be able to talk about GBV issues within their faith space. Traditionally, these are spaces that have been said to be taboo, where we just talk about going to heaven and that sort. But being able to talk about real life issues that the women and the girls are facing, being able to actually find recourse to find protection in their faith spaces is such a relief for most of the people that we work with, particularly women and girls. And we've also seen that after implementation of SASA Faith, there's less acceptance of violence against women within faith communities because it's now something that people talk about. People understand the types of violence, people understand where to get help. So more and more faith communities become intolerant to violence against women. And we've also seen that there's more compassion and support for survivors, which changes and improves their experiences when they seek support. So you'd hear women saying, now when we go to our religious leaders, they don't blame us for the violence that we face, and they don't just ask us to pray, but instead we pray and then they tell us where to get help in line with the violence that we will have faced. And then we've also seen that there's potential to scale up survivor-centered and holistic methodologies and strategies on faith and gender. And we're very happy because we have this COP and it brings all the players and actors together because there's great potential for us to do more great work around gender and faith. We can move to the next slide. So I guess this is why we also joined this community of practice so that we can be part of a global community where we are all seeking to prevent and respond to GBV, but using the faith component. We also want to network formally and informally. We want to hear what other people are doing so that we can share current trends, we can share evidence and best practices. I'm happy that even today we've got a diverse panel from different parts of Africa, from Asia, so that we can hear what's happening across the globe. And we also want to contribute to the local and global faith discourse from the work that we have done with evidence that it works, but we also know that there are other people who have not used our methodology. So I think there's opportunity for us to link and collaborate, and so that we increase the program quality in the sector. So in terms of how we would want to collaborate, you can move to the next slide, Lisa. So in terms of collaboration, we're looking to maybe joint research, advocacy campaigns, interagency collaborations on programming, coming together for funding proposals to support evidence-based programming, because we have the methodology that we've been using. But if we come together with another institution, another agency that have used a different methodology, we can strengthen the quality of our proposals, the quality of our deliverance, and ultimately the quality of services that we provide to the communities. And then we can also strengthen our voice and connections, not only within the faith and gender space, but on the global space. We can appeal to donors, we can appeal to the churches, to the faith leaders, and ultimately to the powers that be. So this is us as Trokra, and you can reach out to me. We'll put our email addresses in the chat, and yeah, let's work together, let's collaborate, let's get that funding, let's help the women and girls in the communities. Thank you.
Oh, well done, Laurel. You stuck to your time so perfectly. Thank you so much. Laurel, I'm going to ask you if you can post your email address in the chat box as well. And maybe if you have time, post some links to Sasa Faith, maybe to some of your outputs, if anyone's interested to maybe follow those. I know you've published quite a bit of work around Sasa Faith, so that would be lovely. Thank you so much, Laurel. I'm handing over immediately. Oh, before I hand over to Mary, Felix, I see you've joined. It's great. So we have 6 presenters. I thought Felix wasn't turning up. So now I'm handing over to Mary. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon.
Can hear
Okay,
you
thank
clearly.
you.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. Sorry, I don't have slides, but I'll try to speak to what we do as Speak One Voice. So I'm representing Speak One Voice. I've been with Speak One Voice as a volunteer programs coordinator, managing the programs of Speak One Voice since 2020. Speak One Voice is it's an organization that was founded by indigenous women in the local churches in Zambia and Burundi. So the Zambian Speak One Voice has taken off and has since established itself since it started in 2017, being founded in 2017, registered in 2020. So it works in Zambia, Malawi, Zimbabwe, and Botswana. When Speak One Voice started, it started mainly under the umbrella of the Anglican Church in partnership with Episcopal Relief Development. But since then, it has moved on to be an ecumenical organization. So our key focus areas as Speak One Voice is that we do advocacy and training amongst women in the church. We are focusing on women in the church to capacitate them to understand themselves as faith leaders, and then they are the ones that actually go to speak to end violence against women and children in families, in churches, and in their communities. So because we are focusing on the church, we are coming from a background where in our context, we felt that the church was very silent. It was not really very actively engaged in ending the violence. And the church as a religious body, we also know that it's very well established in our communities, and if well engaged, can be a very good tool to help us to end violence against women and children. So Speak One Voice seeks to break the silence. You can hear me now? Okay, 6, to end the silence that was associated to the church in areas of GBV. So our key activities, how do we go about our work? We go about our work using a methodology in community learning called experiential learning. So experiential learning is a tool that we use to train our women, whom we call our faith leaders, to engage with issues related to gender, religion, and culture, because we recognize that these three put together actually can perpetuate violence. So we use the experiential learning model so that the women, the faith leaders, actually do go out and engage on issues surrounding violence against women and children. Since we started in 2017, 18, 19, our work was actually founded on research. Lisa was actually our key consultant in that area. And so based on the evidence that was gathered from that research, we began stakeholder engagements. We recognized that for us to be able to get the church on board, we needed to engage them first as stakeholders. So using dialogues, listening dialogues, again, another methodology that we got from a partner organization called JLI. We were able to bring the church on board, and since then, we have trained about 92 facilitators coming from Zambia, Malawi, Botswana, and Zimbabwe. And these, our faith leaders, are the ones that are advocating for gender justice in their countries, and particularly in their local churches. We've held stakeholder conversations around issues of GBV. I think our main concern has been that despite so much involvement, so much funding, maybe that is around the issue, we saw the numbers continuing to go up. So the question that we've been asking ourselves is, where is the problem? What is it that we are not doing right? So we hope that we can learn something from here. And of the key lessons that we have learned since we started our work, Speak One Voice has learned that religion as in all religions, and culture, coming from a continent that is culturally, that has a strong cultural roots, contribute a lot to the problem of violence against women and children, particularly in Africa. And we also have recognized that patriarchy is deeply entrenched in both religion and culture. And we've actually found it interesting that even the faith women that we raise as faith leaders continue to hold on to their culture in terms of trying to interpret the roles of male and female, and particularly the role of a female gender in a marriage setup or in a relationship setup. Since we've started, we recognize one of our key successes that we would like to share is that of being able to collaborate with the local churches. This is an indigenous movement begun by women in the church and in a patriarchal society. When you talk about issues of gender, just mentioning the word gender, you receive hostile responses. But we have found that with the approach that we've taken of community learning and stakeholder engagement, we've been able to partner with the local churches to begin to examine their practices of faith and how these affect women and children. Why have we joined CoP? It attracted us because it provides an opportunity for us to collaborate, to learn more.
1 minute.
Yes, and we know that together we can end GBV and violence against women and children. Some of the collaborations we are looking forward to, thank you, Trocare, is networking, research, and possible funding. Thank you. I'm done.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mary. If you feel comfortable, Mary, please add contact information in the chat box if people want to reach out to you, and any other links that you're interested that you can share on your work. I'm immediately handing over to Modupe. The floor is yours,
Thank
please.
you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much. Shield Them Support Organization was established 2016, and we are basically based in Nigeria, and we do most of our works in Abuja. And in relation to, we do most of our work in Abuja. We've worked with churches, various churches and schools, and most especially schools, and we find out that if you stop at school, then we have not done much, because most people actually believe in their religious institutions. So to answer to how our work is connected to faith and gender-based violence, really what we do at Shield Them is to create safe places for children, to make sure that children are not molested or involved in a domestic violence and servitude. And we have been working against child labor and child sexual abuse. And we delved into having programs in various churches. But what we found out is that most of the time, the church leaders would prefer us to work with the children. They hardly have time in their schedules for us to come and do any kind of presentation or to work directly with them. So we are still battling with that, and hope that things will get better. Of course, most of the pastors that we worked with in the children's section, where they normally send us, it's like they just believe that yes, these things are happening, but we didn't realize that it's as huge as this. But at the same time, the church has their timing for every program, so they hardly have time to welcome us to the main church. I mean, to speak to the adults, which would have helped better. Shield Them is a non-for-profit. I need to say it again, that we are certainly dedicated to protecting and empowering vulnerable groups, particularly women and children, especially children affected by GBV. Our mission is to provide holistic support, ranging from prevention and advocacy to survival support through a faith-sensitive and community-driven approach. We go into the communities, we go to the rural areas. You know, we do outreaches, we talk to community leaders, we talk with, we collaborate with stakeholders of those areas that we visit. But our key focus areas and activities is right there with what is going to happen to this child. Is this child being raped? What is being done? And is the church aware of it? Is the mosque aware of it? Who are the culprits? So that is the major focus of our work. And the child that is being used for cheap labor, what is happening in that home? We want to know. So we definitely work together with the community leader, because we know that if you don't do this, there's no way we can reach everybody. So we also work with prevention and awareness. We engage faith leaders, communities, and institutions in conversations and training. We've done a lot of training concerning GBV. Most especially, we went through the teachers, the staff of some schools. We trained staffs in some schools. And we also train some church groups. At times they call us for church meeting to educate people about GBV. And I say it that the issue we still have is penetrating the main churches. They seem not to have time for us to come over and do our work. So, and I'm sure it's related to all this patriarchal system, the things that people refuse to change, like, and harmful norms that they still want to keep in their culture, and also, trying to like think about the stigma, or they see it as an issue that one should not even talk about. So we also provide survivor support and rehabilitation. This we do through referrals. We have 2 organizations. We have the NAPTIP that we report to, when any GBV any GBV case too. Then we have referrals for psychosocial support to another, which is the Worklife. I'm just trying to jump and make sure that I keep to the time. Faith-based, we also do faith-based engagement. We work with religious leaders to challenge GBV enabling beliefs. Most of these things we do it outside of the church because they seem not to even have time to invite us over, to give us time to do our work. And hopefully these things will get better. This is not encouraging at all. But at the same time, we keep working. Then we have advocacy and policy influence. We engage with policymakers. Not directly, we work with the network, the general network, that's my NACTA network, and stakeholders to push for stronger legal protections against GBV. So we work through NAPTIP, we work with NACTA. NACTA is a network against child trafficking, abuse and labor. And Worklife, it's another support that we have. Then we have the NAPTIP, that is basically the government institution that backs us when it comes to GBV and other.
1 minute left.
Okay, some of our key activities include community dialogues. Recently, we did a community holistic intervention that we did with some other collaboration with other organizations, so that their own thematic areas, we came together and it was very successful. So what we are looking at is collaboration and partnership on this platform, so that we can collaborate to reach into those areas, especially penetrate the church and the church leaders and the mosque, and even right into the grassroots. We need a lot of funding. It's a challenge to us too. 1 minute. In many communities, faith is a cornerstone of identity and decision making. So however, religious teachings are sometimes misinterpreted to justify GBV. So we needed to correct that, go there and search in the Bible for words that we make them understand that no, this is the way to go. And they used all these their own belief to silence survivors. So survivors don't talk about what has happened to them. As children, we work with religious leaders to correct these narratives, using faith as a force for justice and healing. We engage faith communities to promote gender equitable interpretation of religious texts. That is very, very important. We support survivors with faith-sensitive counseling and spiritual care when they allow us. Then we mobilize faith institutions as safe places for reporting and intervention. That's if
Time's up.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Oh, it's horrible to interrupt. I'm so
to
sorry. But thank you so much for sharing. Please share in the chat box contact information that you're comfortable sharing. And I see some questions in the chat box. We're going to get to them at the end, but I'm now immediately handing over to Elvis. Elvis, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Shows you're still in the meeting. Yep, there you are.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, nice. Thank you. Thank you. Let me just a second to share my screen.
Okay. I'll tell you when I start seeing it on this side. It's saying you're starting to share. And we're seeing it. It's not yet in the presenter, and now it's in the presenter mode. Thank you,
So
Elvis.
can you see my screen?
Yes, perfectly.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So thank you so much, Lisa. Hi, everyone. My name is Elvis Mbitsi. I represent, or I work for a grassroots organization. It's called Impact for Youth Kenya as the executive director. So yeah, I think it's time I start my presentation. So yes, so who we are, Impact for Youth, it's so it's a youth-led non-profit community-based organization located in Mombasa County in Kenya. And our aim is to give adolescents and young people access to fulfilled health and opportunities for self-sustainable. Where we work, we are based in Kenya and we work in 3 sub-counties. We are not limited, but currently for our physical activities, we work on 3 counties, that is Mombasa County, Kwale County, and Kilifi County. And these counties are the counties which are based in the coastal region of Mombasa. Oh, sorry, in the coastal region. And we know there is a culture, or it's a culture where most GBV cases are more. There are so many rates of GBV cases in the coastal area. So yes, our key focus areas, we are working on SRHR. It's our thematic area, our pillar. So under SRHR is where now we look at the aspect of gender-based violence and other SRHR issues. We also have an aspect of mental health where we are trying to integrate mental health in SRHR. For example, if we get a GBV survivor, we have to give that survivor maybe access or even care. We link that person to mental health support to get support at the end of it. And then we have an aspect of climate change and also an aspect of digital innovation where we are trying to share information on digital platforms, social media platforms, and other websites, writing blogs, and everything. Our key activities, basically, we usually do sessions. We give out information in the community, and our approach, we are trying to bring the aspect of inclusivity where we involve or we include each and every person, especially young people in all their diversity, making sure that we are not leaving anyone behind. So we are working with people in all genders, regardless of their disability or even their disability, gender, ethnicity. We are not looking at the aspect, but we are working with each and every person, a young person in all their diversity. So our key activities, during the 16 days of activism, that is last year, we launched a campaign called Badilika campaign. Badilika is a Swahili word, but basically it means change. So Badilika, or you can put it in 2 brackets, let's say change campaign. So this campaign, it was a collaborative online and physical advocacy initiative where we were giving information, GBV information on our social media platforms, writing blogs, and even do content creation on gender-based violence. And also we did sessions giving out information in the community. And our target population was the police officers, parents, and even young people and survivors of gender-based violence. So this initiative, again, we launched it during the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. And our impact, our online reach, though we had limited resources, but you can say we did great, especially for this campaign. We reached over 25,000 plus people online. We also, sorry, there is a mistake, especially for physical activities. I think I was in a hurry. So we reached around 300 young people and even including parents and police officers with information on gender-based violence. Another activity is Research to Change, where it started as a research mentorship academy. We went through, our organization went through an academy, and through the research, we got a funding from USAID, which was hosted by Root Change organization. And we trained 13 community-based organizations on resource mobilization. And we established also, as a result of this initiative, we also established an advocacy alliance, which is called Strengthening Communities for Advocacy Alliance. And this alliance, in this alliance, we normally advocate for gender-based violence issues and even other SRHR issues, influencing policies and even meeting with policymakers. One key lesson that our organization has learned in doing our work, we have seen that partnership and collaboration is key when it comes to community work. And due to this, we have partnered with so many organizations, including the Medicines Sans Frontiers, it's called MSF, or Doctors Without Borders, in giving gender-based violence information to adolescents and young people. And also, we have also partnered with the county government and other stakeholders in involving faith leaders in gender-based violence work. One key success that we have had as an organization, we have collaborated with the county government of Mombasa and faith leaders to develop a concept for sermon guide on gender-based violence. So this sermon will give, we are trying to include the aspect of faith and religion in gender-based violence. And due to this, we had a meeting with the policymakers, the county government officials, and even faith leaders, including
1 minute.
Christian leaders, Hindus, and Muslims to develop this concept for the sermon guide. Why did we join the community of practice? To collaborate, share knowledge, and strengthen our GBV prevention efforts, also to learn best practices and advocate for policy change. How Impact for Youth works links to religion and gender-based violence. We are trying to challenge harmful norms and we are addressing cultural and religious beliefs that reinforce gender-based violence. We also train religious leaders to advocate for gender equity and equality. We are also partnering with religious institutes to support survivors and trying to address the religious perspective, all those ideas that religious leaders have in regards to gender-based violence, and even link mental survivors to mental health support, and even psychosocial support. What type of collaborator would like to have? Probably support to cascade our Badilika campaign, also possible funding and other partnerships from different organizations from different countries. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's all.
Thank you so much, Elvis. Again, if you can drop your contact information in the chat and any other links that you'd like to share with people, and you can stop sharing your screen. And I'm immediately handing over to Romina. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Just 1 second also to share my screen. And if you could confirm that this is...
Okay, it's starting to share. I'm not yet seeing it on the slide, but I am seeing it. It's not yet in presentation mode. And it's up. It's perfect. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation, Lisa. Lovely to be in this group. And thank you, everyone who spoke already. I'm going to introduce you the Institute of Domestic Violence, Religion and Migration today. I already see many overlaps with what we all do. So I should say my name is Dr. Mina Istrati. I'm based at SOAS, University of London, principal investigator previously of Project Dildil, and now director of the Institute of Domestic Violence, Religion and Migration. And I'm going to speak of both projects if you're not familiar with them, so bear with me. So as an institute, we aim to be a highly specialized evidence and practice platform to produce innovative research, but also interventions on domestic violence, but also other interconnected forms of violence, including conflict-related sexual violence in religious communities, migrant and ethnic minority contexts. We are especially interested in the intersection, again, of domestic violence and other forms of violence, seeing violence as a continuum as opposed to looking at it in silos. We are funded externally, so we lead our own research and intervention programs, including with Indigenous organizations, faith-based and secular partners, but we also support other organizations in delivering culturally appropriate and faith-sensitive responses. We operate currently in 5 countries, and we started initially in Ethiopia and the UK. We've expanded in Egypt, and we're expanding into Poland this year. What is important about us that you may want to remember is that we are built on the model of Project Dildil. Dildil is one is in Tigrinya, is a term in Tigrinya that means bridge. And is one of the spoken languages in Ethiopia and Eritrea, where we previously worked. And it really is a model based on our experience with various inequalities that exist within international collaboration in research, but also in practice. So we're very much committed to a decolonial reflexivity that centers on our positionalities and identities. We're committed on interdisciplinary responses, culturally appropriate responses, but also the integration of theology. Myself, I have a theological background, so we very much work on integrating theological resources into responses to domestic violence. And our model and approach is always to co-create our research and our interventions with indigenous organizations, women's platforms, feminist movements, faith-based stakeholders, and religious institutions. So I mentioned briefly that we emerged from the Project Dildil, which lasted initially 4 years, was based at SOAS University of London. And we established this project again in order to address some of the asymmetries we saw in international development, but also this paradigm, a very secular paradigm that seemed to not engage substantively with the religious worldviews of different religious communities where these programs were being delivered. So we really wanted to promote culturally appropriate, theologically informed responses, working with clergy, but also non-faith actors, but also do so in a manner that promotes equitable collaboration and two-way knowledge exchange between Europe and Africa. So we actually started in Ethiopia, and we fed the evidence and the good practices that we developed in Ethiopia with our Ethiopian collaborators into the UK's domestic violence sector, where we're actually currently based. So we wanted to reverse the knowledge transfer because traditionally the West likes to promote its knowledge to the rest, but we really wanted to reverse that. We wanted Europe and the UK to learn from African success stories. And we pursued these aims through 3 types of activities: research that we conducted, interventions, so actual programs that we've designed or co-designed with our partners and co-delivered with our partners, but also through knowledge exchange and education, public education. So we've co-produced a few films that I don't have in my slides, but I would encourage you to go into the Project Dildil website and look through for the films. Everything we've produced, as I've tried to summarize here some of our impact. Everything we've produced is open access, democratically available to everyone. So that's why we were created. We were created to create robust research and evidence that organizations like yours can use, in fact, for free, because you may not have the capacity or time to invest in that research. And one of our flagship projects was to create a theologically informed training approach for Ethiopian Orthodox clergy. We trained 155 clergy working with the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, the development wing organization of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. And that training is quite different because we used Ethiopian Orthodox theology to respond to distorted understandings of domestic violence and train the clergy, again, to have the language to respond to their own communities and address pernicious attitudes. And it took many years to develop those theological materials, translate them, and create that program. That is only one example. Again, I invite you to go to the Project Dildil website to read more. And I've included the schematic of what this model looks like. And again, we encourage everyone to use our model if they find it useful or relate to it, and to scale to expand its applications. Again, if it makes sense to you. And I've kind of identified the foundations of what the model comprises of. Again, being theologically informed and really looking at the religious worldviews and the hermeneutics, the traditions, the religious traditions that people believe in and consider authoritative, because usually you can only respond to people's attitudes and understandings through that authoritative religious tradition as well. Being decolonially reflexive, being collaborative, interdisciplinary, but also transboundary. Again, we believe that we cannot resolve these issues alone, working alone, or looking at one geography only. We really have to share knowledge and work together to respond effectively. I'm not going to go through the lessons. I'm aware that I have very limited time, but I did want to stress that we only aim to work where we have long-term established collaborations and partnerships and trust with communities. Most of our teams, all our team members except myself, are based in the countries where we work in. And myself, I speak 2 of the languages of Ethiopia. I've been there very long as an anthropologist. And again, we believe in bilingual, bicultural awareness, and we only work, again, where we have those established partnerships. We work with non-traditional partners. We hope to encourage new organizations in particular in order to build research leadership and leadership in responding to domestic violence in those countries.
1 minute.
Thank you. But we also aim to inform policy. So we want to do the high level work as well to communicate the kind of evidence you produce to those who make policy and define practice. Why we joined the GBV, the community of practice? Well, because we want to feed the evidence we produce to you, but also we want to receive what you produce and potentially disseminate, as I said, to policymakers and practitioners and inform high level thinking. So please feel free to get in touch with us. We have a newsletter you can subscribe to. We also have a series of publications, blogs, and podcasts. So again, feel free to reach either myself or check our website, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Lisa.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Romina. If you can, all those links and things, if you can post it in the chat because the slide's gone now. Also, everyone, Romina can only be here until the end of this hour. Then she unfortunately has another commitment. So please take note of her contact information that she's going to post in the chat and reach out if you want to have a chat with her. Felix, are you still in the room with us? Are you ready to present?
Please.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you have slides that you want to share, or are we looking at you?
Yes, I want to share.
Okay.
Let me try and see. Okay. Just give me 1 moment. Okay, please, can you see?
No, it's not showing. I'm still
You
just
can
seeing
see
you.
my.
No, so it didn't even start sharing.
Okay, then let me start again. This thing. Okay.
Yeah, it does this weird pop-up, but it never starts sharing the screen.
Oh,
Are you clicking the green button at the bottom that says share?
okay.
Under.
Okay, so it's going to work now.
Okay.
Now, can you see my screen?
No, I'm still just seeing you. You can
Oh,
email it to me, but I think, and then I can share from my side the moment it arrives, but then you can
okay.
maybe, so just email it to me.
Okay, so.
Or you can speak without slides. Oh, there, it's starting to share. Oh,
It
but now
started
we're,
to,
yeah,
okay.
but
So,
we're seeing your screen, and there we see it. Yes.
okay, okay. So, yes, great. So, I'm Felix Cornelius Ajay, Minister of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana, and Director for Administration and Human Resources, one of our presbyteries. And we're doing a lot of things under this Department of Community and Social Relations, but one of the key things we do in relation to gender-based violence is what we call the Thursdays in Black, which is in the WCC and almost everywhere, the Thursdays in Black. So we launched our Thursdays in Black campaign in 2024 as the Presbyterian Church of Ghana through our international and local collaborations. And so, but then before then, there were several webinars and series of talks about this activism concerning combating gender-based violence and the role of the church. And so the success of various talks is what culminated in the campaign and then the Thursdays in Black, in which these days you see mostly on Thursdays, all of us in Blacks in this area. So these are just an excerpts of some of the seminars and the webinars we host and continue to advocate for the gender-based violence each times. These are just a few of the programs that we do. And so what are the key activity areas in the Thursdays in Black? So public sensitization and awareness creation campaigns, livelihood empowerment, training workshops, provision of funds to support business of selected women, either directly or indirectly, identification and the provision of safe space for victims. And then we continue to also do research on understanding the views of participants who are engaged during the public sensitization campaigns. There are several lessons, but then one of the key findings in the ongoing research and from the field of experience of the campaign is the low appreciation of the extent of the occurrence and effects of gender-based violence. This could be attributed to several reasons, such as cultural, socioeconomic reasons, and lack of education about gender-based violence. Another lesson learned in the ongoing campaign is the lack of policies, robust policies developed by the church and various institutions to address issues of GBV. Now, as an ongoing activity, the level of awareness raised during the campaign has been a success. Even though more can be done to sensitize people, especially congregants, the conscious efforts of drawing the attention of people engaged in the campaign to wear anything black on Thursdays is solidary and encouraging. So we want to join to see how people who have been in this business for a long time are doing to contribute our also quota, and then, you know, together we can build a strong and a formidable force and a voice, and then to even help our countries to enact laws. And this can only be possible if we are in a team. So what kind of collaborations are we looking at? Research, more, as I indicated, more research needs to be done and to see how people's perception and how we can engage each other. And then theological materials also. As a theologian, I am a biblical theologian focusing on Bible translation and interpretation in the African context. And so with this experience also in gender-based violence, we could also contribute in developing various research materials and training materials for any other group or any training that we want to organize. We are available to provide such training materials to support the work that our colleagues are also doing, and then also training both for us and also for the whole group. I think hand in hand, we are available to provide our resources and also to be trained by other resources as well. Thank you so much. A snappy one, of course.
Thank you so much for that. Okay, everyone, we're at the end of our 7 presentations, and now I'm opening the floor for anyone to ask questions of the presenters, share their own experiences or insights, explore whatever you want to explore. I want to encourage you, if you have something that you'd like to discuss with Romina, she has 5 minutes left. So we're still seeing your screen, Felix, so just stop sharing from your side, please.
Yeah, I'm trying to share.
Okay. Okay. So Romina's still with us. I see Patience, your hand is up. You can unmute yourself. If your internet's good enough, please share your screen. Otherwise, fine if you just unmute.
Good.
Okay, thank you very much. Please, for now, I'm unable to turn on my video due to my network. But I don't know if you all can hear me clearly. My name is Patience.
We can hear you clearly. Please continue.
Okay, thank you so much. So I have a question to ask, and since this is based on the faith group, so I want to find out for the things you do, what are your main sources of funding? So I want to know if this is limited to the church. for your source of funding to
Patience,
fund
who are
the
you
work
asking the
you do.
question? Is there a specific speaker that you're asking that question of? Who their source of funding is?
Yes, I would love to ask
Or are you asking
this
everyone?
question to the last speaker who just
Okay, Felix.
entered. Yes,
Yeah.
Philip.
Good, good. So,
Yes, since you're as in what you do is a church-based organization. So I would love to ask your major funding. Where do you get it from? And my next question is, when it comes to partnership, do you partner with secular firms, or you strictly partner with with
these
the
organizations.
church? Yes,
Yeah,
that's my
great.
question. That's it.
Yeah, so thank you. So in terms of finance, we have a department, that is the Department of Church, Community and Social Relations. So these issues of gender-based violence is just one of the many activities under that department. So obviously the department have a budget, but as you know, that will not be enough for this kind of activity. And so we try to engage partners. We have some foreign partners as well. The EMS sometimes sends funding for this particular activity, especially the Thursdays and Black and other activities related to gender-based violence. We continue to write proposals and to see like-minded people who will normally come together with us, join forces, and then we organize the program together with them. And then for other partnership in terms of non-finance, we partner with traditional leaders, especially in relation to the program, seminars, conferences, and going on the street to sensitize. We normally collaborate with almost all the religious, bodies, the traditional rulers, even the Muslims. We when it comes to the activation and the practical steps, we normally join forces with them to make sure the sensitization is wider enough. Since gender-based violence have no boundary to religion.
Thank you for that, Felix. Mary, I see your hands up.
Thank you. My question relates to gender-based violence, domestic violence, violence against women and children. GBV in all its forms seems to be very prevalent in Africa. I'm wondering where are we missing it? What is the problem and where are we missing it? Because in my context, even as much as there's so much advocacy, I think we still find that the numbers are continuing to go up. So that is a concern. So I'm wondering what could be the reason for so much violence in our communities.
Are you just sending that question out into the void, or is it directed
is Dr.
someone?
Romina still there? If Dr. Romina
Yes, she
is
is
there, maybe she could help since she's done a lot of research in that area.
Thank you, Mary. I was just about to leave, but thank you. I'm happy to make a very quick comment to say that I believe that the trends are generally not encouraging internationally. It's I wouldn't make it a region specific. I mean, in the UK now we have 1 in 12 females being affected by domestic violence each year. So 1 in 4 in lifetime, 1 in 7 males in their lifetime. And, you know, I would say internationally, it's about usually the statistics the UN agencies would give is 1 in 3. But again, they differ by context and society and community. In general, I would say that the pandemic, COVID-19, various other events in the world would probably have created, you know, the context for some of this amplification of domestic violence that we've seen, at least in our parts of the world. And I think I would say that there is a trend that the problem is not being resolved everywhere. We just had, a report by the National Audit Office here in the UK that says that what the Home Office has been doing to resolve domestic violence hasn't been working really. And I would say from my experience, part of the problem is that we don't really understand what works and what doesn't. And that is because we don't have robust ways to evaluate projects. And when we evaluate them, they're small projects. And that lesson, that learning is not absorbed at the international high level. And so what we are trying to do, in fact, as an institute, that is why I wanted to establish it primarily because there are a lot of good projects happening across Africa and across Europe, like the ones you do. But when these produce results, those results are not communicated at the high level and they don't inform wider practices and policy making, right? So we need a way to scale up and out. This is the kind of the language we use. We need a way to, an incubator of sorts to take these smaller projects and make them into larger interventions that work, in wider geographies and communities. And I think that transition from small scale to large scale is quite problematic. We don't have the mechanisms, the capacity, the funding, the infrastructure, and also it's not a priority for politicians. That is a huge issue, as you know. Because, in addition to all the barriers you have at the community level and the hierarchies within institutions and so on, but I think that it's not a priority. When we make it a priority as societies, then maybe we'll resolve it. I would end there, Mary, but be positive. I think good things are happening everywhere. It's like small lights in the darkness. Take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Romina. She has to run now, but I want to
Thank
encourage
you.
everyone. All their contact information is in the chat. Please reach out to Romina. Please raise your hand if you have any other questions. I'm looking at the chat box. I'm going to keep my eye up. Donna, I see you have your hand raised. So priority goes to people who are raising their hands and want to speak, but I am watching the chat box. Donna, please.
Thank you very much, Lisa. My question is for Elvis, and I know in his presentation he was talking about his organization, which is youth focused, and my interest is around the intersections of the SVRI needs of young people as well in the context of religion. How have they been able to navigate those tensions? For example, I think it's one of the experiences that we've had also implementing a GBV program or an SRI program, but in a faith-based manner. So how have they been able to navigate some of the tensions that then rise with some biblical texts, which are contrary to some of the SRHR needs and rights?
All right. Thank you so much, Donna, for the question. So basically, as per what I've presented, I've talked about the concept that we have developed in partnership or in collaboration with the county government of Mombasa. So this concept is we want to develop something like a framework or a document that talks about the issue of the aspect of religion in relation to gender-based violence. So we had a sitting with the religious leaders and the county government officials where we came up with the concept, and now we are in the process of starting developing the document that will give provisions or rather guidelines on how to incorporate the aspect of religion in addressing gender-based violence, as well as, and we also involved different religions, not just Christianity, but also the Islamic religion and Hinduism as well. So I hope I've answered your question. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Elvis. I'm looking to see if there are more hands up. As I'm checking for that in the chat box, Elvis, Julia asked, what are the key advocacy agenda you are focusing on? Can you maybe reply to that, please?
Right. So the advocacy agenda that we are trying to focus on currently especially for now, is the developing of the framework, the Salmon Guide for gender, the Salmon Guide for incorporating religious in addressing gender-based violence. We are also trying to come up with research, because we have done research before, but our research was based on resource mobilization, the factors that youth-led organization first, but now we are in the process of coming up with launching a research where we want to collect the views of young people in relation to religion. And now we want to get the findings and also recommendations, come up with recommendations so that they can influence our advocacy efforts as well. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I'm continuing on the chat box. Mary, I see your question was more directed at Romina. So Felix, a question from Julia. Felix, do you have successful experience in having policy advocacy with church groups for having their GBV policy? So that was asked, Julia asked that of Felix.
Okay, so let me read the message again to me. Okay, successful experience in having policy advocacy with church group for having the gender-based violence policy. Yeah, so now that we have launched the Thursdays in Black, currently for the Thursdays in Black, for the areas that we have launched them, I can say it has been successful because normally when it gets there, you see all the leaders of the church, the pastors, the lay, we all come together to launch the campaign throughout the streets. And I say at the development stage of the Thursdays in Black, for now, I can say it's positive. Now, I think what is left is for it to become a policy document together with our partners. And then now it should be inculcated into the church as a whole. And that is one of the reasons why we join in this, to see how others are also doing about it. And then I think one success experience is to see sometimes people come out boldly after some of this campaign to see the church's position and to share of their experience and how the church will also take practical steps to help such victims. And I think that is an interesting thing to see. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Felix. Mary, I want you to take a look at the chat box. Tandy is asking you for more information, and Donna Elvis posted something to you. Madupe, in the chat box, Mary asked, I'm curious about children of faith leaders at risk. Can you please clarify? Can you maybe share a bit more about what you meant by that? Oh, I'm assuming you're still in the room. Are you still here? Yeah, there you are.
I don't know if you are hearing me. I couldn't hear
I'm
your
hearing you.
question. Yeah,
Can hear you.
there's something wrong. Okay. Can you come again, please? I didn't hear what you said.
Okay, so the question was, I am curious about children of faith leaders at risk. Can you clarify? And Mary, you asked the question, so if you want to unmute yourself and explain your question a bit more, you can do that as well.
Okay, I still cannot hear you. Your voice is very faint. I think it has to do with my phone, but I'm very sure that you can hear me. When we go to,
Yes, we can hear you.
when we approach religious leaders, bringing our programs, they usually send us to the children's section, or they tell you that children are having programs also and so date. You can come and talk with the children. But yes, we at the same time, while talking with the children, we also engage the youth pastors, and they will tell us, yes, but what can we do? Most of the time, they are shocked at what they hear the children saying, because you make these children to come out anonymously, write whatever they are feeling, because ordinarily they will not come out to say someone raped them and all that. So it became so overwhelming for most of the pastors, but they seem not to be able to do anything because, oh yeah, we are not allowed to an extent to do much within the main church system. And most people, they believe in their religious leaders, they respect their religious leaders. If the religious leaders can allow or just give some time in their schedules, to allow this to be talked about on the pulpit, I'm sure things will change. A lot of leaders are afraid that when they do that, some of these culprits are within the church system, and some of them are those that bring money to the church or something like that, and they don't even want to discuss it. We've seen pastors that are raping young girls, young children, and the congregational members at times cover up. So the work is a bit hard, but at the same time, we'll still continue doing it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Sanum, I see your hands raised. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for allowing me to speak. I just wanted to share some of my work. Yeah, here is my slide. Here is my work. I would like to share that I am working on gender-based violence and technology-facilitated gender-based violence with the intersection of the religion, because in Pakistan, the situation of gender-based violence is really concerning. And recently, after the attacks on the past governments, so the politicians and the influencers were attacked. So along with Bytes for All organization already, we are working on the research reports on technology facilitated gender-based violence, but some of the projects on which we have worked is about the positive peace minority right awareness programs, where the victims of the gender-based violence, they usually come, and in the presence of the legal experts and journalists, they share about their how they were violated, and along with that, they speak. The families of the victims also speak, because usually there is a surge in the femicide. Most of the victims are no more in the world to speak about their rights. Most of the cases are internationally highlighted because they were brutally murdered, these all women. And most of the people who belong to different religions, as our media is only portraying the stories, they belong to the majority, the religion Islam. So the Christians and the Hindus, they do not get more awareness that what are their rights, not in the media, not in the mainstream news. So whatever they are told in by the people who are their manipulators, their family members, they believe on that. So we started this this campaign, and we are funding these kind of things with the crowdfunding. We invite the people and we ask other organizations to collaborate with that. And there is another fellowship program for the interfaith harmony and dialogue on the rights. And for that, the youth, they come and they visit all the religious places, and they go to the media stream as well. We
1
teach them
minute.
that how to share their stories. And along with that, we have our own media, our own legal support program as well, where these people, these all girls who are being held captive by their own family members, whether they belong to any religion, they can call us and they can take the help of the lawyers online. And that's it from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Please remember to drop your contact information in the chat box if anyone wants to reach out to Sanum in light of what she just shared. I'm not picking up on other questions or raised hands. Anyone want to ask anything or add anything still? We still have 15 minutes, so you can feel free. As I am waiting to see if anyone raises their hand, I want to maybe also plug this. If any of you is working in Guinea or know of an organization working in Guinea, if you can please reach out to me. There's a collaboration opportunity that someone else contacted me about, and that they're looking for a organizational partner in Guinea. So just send me an email, but I will also post about this in the email that I send out next week when we have the links to all of these networking events. Anyone else want to raise something? I'm not seeing any hands. Mary, you're physically raising your hand.
I was looking for the thing. I wasn't.
Please go ahead.
This is a very interesting platform, very insightful, and I'm wondering, Lisa, this is directed to you. One of the things that came out from Romina is the fact that we failed to show the evidence, even the small organizations that can impact on policymakers. How can we address that issue? Scaling up evidence.
Thank you for that, Mary. I think Romina, what she emphasized was also that I think sometimes the small organizations are recording what they're doing, and they do have research in bigger or lesser extents, but there seems to be a disconnect between what we're learning on the ground and those that are funding and those that are making the policy. So I think like Romina's institute, one of their big purposes is bridging this gap. And you'll see in the chat, everyone, she asked you to please reach out, share your research, share the things that you've been doing, that they can start bridging that gap. I think SVRI is another organization that really works around this. I think also organizations like SVRI that prioritizes, how shall I put it, less standardized forms of research. It doesn't always have to be a randomized control trial, it doesn't always have to be this big official research project, but it can be a recording of what we do. We can have different dissemination methods. We could focus on practice-based knowledge, things like that. So I think there are different spaces that are trying to bridge that gap. But I think maybe also, Mary, it is a challenge. And I mean, we've been hearing about amazing things that all of you are doing in your community. I think there's a challenge to organizations like yours not to just be doing the amazing work. And I think it's sometimes so hard because you're so caught up in that. But to also, take that time, steal that time away, to record what you're doing, to tell the stories. It doesn't always have to be a formal research project, but it can be the case studies. I think, again, Romina's post in the chat said, it doesn't have to just be a research project. It can be case studies. To get that information out and start sharing. So there are platforms, and I think maybe also these networking events is part of that as well, that we start to get to know each other and share what we're doing, and in that way bridge the gap a bit. But anyone else can also respond to Mary's question. Those are just my thoughts. I'm checking. I'm not seeing hands. It is the awkward silence. People, I think what I'm going to do now, I'm going to draw the session to a close. I want to thank all of you for being here today. I want to thank our presenters for sharing about their organizations and the amazing work that they've been doing. It's been amazing to learn more about it. I want to thank everyone who attended for your questions, for being here, for being for making this just more of a community space. Thank you. I will be emailing next week. Next week on Tuesday, we have our last networking event of this series. And then later next week, I'll be sending out an email to all of the COP members with links to the 3 networking events. So you can go and watch the videos of the networking events that you were unable to attend. But again, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And I hope you have a good rest of your Thursday. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.